Good evening. Welcome to the Kent City Council meeting for Tuesday, December 14th, 2021. This is our last council meeting of the year. If everyone could please rise and join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Kim, could you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor Ralph.
Here.
Council President Troutner.
Here.
Councilmember Boyce.
Here.
Councilmember Fincher.
Here.
Councilmember Kaur.
Here.
Councilmember Larmer.
Here.
Councilmember Michaud.
Here.
Councilmember Thomas.
Zooming in.
Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Thomas, I have to tell you, I love that answer. All right, item number 3 on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes from council or staff? All right, no changes. All right, Derek, I have to say, I love that mask. I had not seen that before.
Why, thank you. I had to mix it up for the holidays. Councilmember Fincher assures me the red doesn't clash. So
I love it. I love it. It is hard to believe that we are already very, very close to Christmas. I don't know about you all, but I have not started or finished my shopping. All right, no changes to the agenda. A motion would be in order to approve the agenda as published.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Right, I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries 7-0 and agenda stands as published. Item number 4 on our agenda is public communications, and we are going to start with one of my favorite presentations each month, and that is our Employee of the Month recognition. Each month, our employees get together, submit nominations for their coworkers that are doing outstanding things, whether it be on a project or just day-to-day in their work, and showing that they're supportive of the mission, vision, values, and goals of the City of Kent. This month, I am proud to announce that our December 2021 Employee of the Month is Kaylin. I practiced this all day, Kaylin. Awelua. All right. Kaylin joined the city as a temporary office tech on April 4th, 2016, and she then transitioned into a term-limited temporary office technician 3 position on September 1st, 2016. She became a regular full-time employee as an office tech 3 on November 16th, 2016. On June 1st, 2018, her position was reclassified to an admin assistant 1, and she then transitioned into a full-time regular admin assistant 2 role in 2019. So lots of steps between 16 and 19, and she excelled in every one of those positions. As an admin 2 for the Public Works Operations Administration team, she is in contact with our residents daily. So if you call in, it's a very good chance that you have heard Kaylin's voice working through some of those requests for service and things like that. Her nomination noted that she showed grace under extreme pressure and wholeheartedly represents the city each time she is speaking to our residents or internal customers. She worked hard to bring resolution to their concerns and is diligent to make sure each one of our customers is taken care of. Kaylin truly believes in the spirit of what a team is, and she often offers her teammates assistance and training whenever it is needed. She consistently helps to make other team members' jobs easier, and her team loves to be around her because she always has a happy attitude and tons of energy. I am going to ask Kara Moore and Dave Brock to come up and say a few words, and we will congratulate Kaylin on being our December 2021 Employee of the Month.
Good evening.
Good evening, Kara.
I'd like to take a quick moment to introduce you to Kaylin Awelua, our December Employee of the Month. Kaylin started with the city in 2016, and not only have I seen her grow in her position, but also grow the position she is in. Earning 2 promotions in the short 5 years she has been here, Kaylin evolved from being a student to being the teacher. Almost single-handedly, she rolled out our Bluebeam plan review system, including developing a user's manual and providing hands-on training to our field staff during the deployment. She created and implemented tools and best practices that other departments have emulated. Because of her efforts, Operations was a front runner in the use of a brand-new software program before any other city department even started using it. Yes, you heard that correctly. Operations was the first to use and become proficient in new tech. Please mark that down because it's got to be a historic moment. I hold Kaylin in high regard, and I'm not alone. She was nominated by 4 different coworkers in 1 month. I personally can't think of a greater compliment. I'd like to share with you a few comments from those nominations. Kaylin is well deserving of this award as she is consistently paving a way through our daily challenges in administration. She has dedicated her time in going above and beyond to obtain the best solution in difficult to reach situations. What I admire the most about her work ethic is that she is willing to help wherever she can, and it shows. She consistently helps me with issues on my city cell phone because I do not understand the new programs and GIS issues. I know many other people who love to be around Kaylin because she is always happy, has a happy attitude and energy. I am nominating Kaylin because she helps me with anything I need whenever I need it. She is always there for me when I need someone from admin. She says she's here to make our jobs easier and life better while at the shops. Kaylin is an amazing coworker and an amazing example of city values. She is always going above and beyond to help her coworkers and the citizens of Kent. Kaylin did a great job filling in for Kara. I second that. Even though she was the only person in the office at times, it did not stop her from going above and beyond to help. Kaylin is our note taker for the business action team and has been a huge help. She helps us get significantly more done because of all the research she does and the effort she puts into the SOP editing. Kaylin is an excellent team member, going above and beyond to make sure that those in her subcommittees are heard and their input validated. Kaylin believes in the spirit of what a team is, offering her teammates assistance and trainings and showing by example how we want our team to be perceived. She displays great caring and empathy in all aspects of her work. Kaylin is invested in the city and proud to represent it. She shows this daily with the care and consideration in which she performs her job. I believe she represents us in an exemplary way. I fully endorse her nomination as Employee of the Month, and I hope that she stands out for you as she does for me.
Well said, Kara and Mayor. I'm going to keep it short. Congratulations very much, Kaylin. I ditto and echo everything that's been said. I want to turn this over to you so you can introduce your family. I know you brought several members of your family tonight. Please come up and introduce them and say a couple words.
Yeah. So my family is here. I have my dad, Carl, and my husband, Henry. My kids, I have Lima, Orion, JJ, Kinesse, and Hennessy. And I'm not going to cry. I am very thankful, and I'm very invested in the city of Kent, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude, and I'm so glad that I'm able to work here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kaylin, you got to come back up. We're going to do a quick picture.
Do you want all?
We'll just come right here and help you.
Oh, do we come too? Oh, sorry. Okay, come on.
Oh, cute
Oh.
Go back a little bit. Can you squeeze in there too? Yep. Everybody say Christmas.
Christmas. Oh, ho, ho.
Great.
Madam Mayor, can I make a comment, please?
Absolutely.
I just want to say, I had 5 kids, and I can remember them. They never sat still like this here. So kudos to you as a mom, okay?
All right. And to the Christmas in the back, Thank you for being such a good direction follower. That was awesome. All right, we are going to move on in our agenda to a presentation of the Governor's Smart Vision Award for Rally the Valley. And joining us tonight to introduce this presentation is our very own Michelle Wilmot from Economic and Community Development. This is pretty exciting and an amazing recognition of all of the work that went into Rally the Valley. So Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. It's my great honor to be here on behalf of my teammates in Economic and Community Development for their long-range planning project known as Rally the Valley. I know you all know about this, but I'm going to fill our audience members in on a few details. We're thrilled the governor selected this effort as one of only 11 projects across our state to receive a 2021 Smart Communities Award. So I want to set the table on that here first. Rally the Valley, for those who don't know what this is, it's a name chosen for a sub-area plan that's required by the state as part of Kent's Manufacturing Industrial Center designation. To do this work, my colleagues, including the fabulous project lead, Haley Bonsteel, who is likely to deliver a baby, her first, any day now, Daniel Butzik, who unfortunately left for an opportunity at the Port of Seattle, and my partner in crime, Chief Economic Development Officer Bill Ellis, who is out working to recruit another space company to come to Kent. They left no stone unturned in their analysis of industrial business practices, new trends in manufacturing, geographic implications of past and present business location decisions, economic forces, especially those related to evolving technologies, and ultimately land use. This work wasn't done by just the three of them, though. They surveyed employees, over 200 in our valley, and many employers from a variety of companies in Kent, the variety in size and in how long they've been here and the number of employees. And we also worked with a 13-person panel that represented Kent's dominant industry groups. They met monthly and provided critical input and support that contributed to the results of this work. This is a year-long effort that resulted in a financially achievable vision for private development that puts workers' quality of life and their experience in the workplace first, rather than allowing continued proliferation of enormous warehouses with zero amenities and no contribution to our public spaces. That plan puts people first instead of trucks, specifically people working every day in Kent Valley to produce and deliver high-quality technologies, machinery, materials, and other goods and services that our region relies on. To give you a couple of examples, just to make it real for people who might not understand what I'm speaking about, I wanted just to, for those of you who know where there's a certain recliner company on West Valley Highway, it's a gigantic building with nothing interesting for those of us who drive by on West Valley every day. That's what is on the public-facing side. The inside of this building is beautiful with lots of glass and more of a showroom sort of quality. That's just on an aesthetics perspective. On a use for employees, think about lots of employees at Amazon, for instance, out on 212. And there's no bus shelters. We encourage everybody to take buses, and there's no bus shelters for the thousands of employees that work at Amazon. Those are just two sort of real life examples I can point to right now that we're aiming to fix with some of these policy changes. The new design guidelines that are part of this Rally the Valley plan require scaled building structure design. And I had to even look up what this means because I'm not a planner. Actually, the word was massing, but I'm trying to simplify the complex, which means how does this building look and feel and fit in the current neighborhood that it's in or the area that it's in? And then we look at adding windows and doors to some of these big giant buildings too, as far as new developments. This isn't requiring retrofitting existing things. It's new development that comes to Kent. So long story short, it doesn't just look good, but it also requires break room and amenity spaces for employees, connections to trails, and publicly visible entries, ensuring that the buildings contribute positively to the public space and the private business operations without compromising the efficiency of tilt-up construction methods, which are so prevalent now, as you'll see out at the former Boeing Space Center property. Those buildings have come up so quickly. That is known as tilt-up construction. You all know that Kent Valley is a hub of distribution and logistics, a center of advanced manufacturing innovation, and a premier place for the development of outer space vehicles. Of course, I had to add that in. While work remains, and even the best laid plans depend on the actions of a lot of other people, we believe the land use and design standards created in dialogue with our employers and their employees and other stakeholders will play a role in bringing this all to fruition. The end result of this work ensures that the Industrial Valley will continue to be a hub for high-quality, innovative manufacturing and industrial businesses, and for their employees for years to come. And Governor Inslee and his team like this too. So with that summary, it's my big pleasure to turn it over to Valerie Smith, who is joining us online. She is the Interim Managing Director of Growth Management Services at the Washington State Department of Commerce. Thank you, Valerie, for joining us this evening. The floor is yours.
Hey, good evening. Thank you so much for having me and letting me join virtually with you. I hope you all can hear me well.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So on behalf of Governor Jay Inslee and Commerce Director Lisa Brown, I am pleased to present this Smart Community Vision Award to the City of Kent. This award highlights the governor's commitment to preserving and protecting Washington's desirable quality of life and recognizes the hard work of our communities, residents, and local officials to make sure we have a clean environment, economically viable, and high-quality, affordable communities, all attributes that make our great state a wonderful place to live, work, and play. Today, we are celebrating a collaborative and thorough effort to implement goals, policies, and plans to ensure a vision for the Kent Valley that is thriving, economically resilient, and a center for business activity. The Rally the Valley plan will continue to serve the community and region for decades to come. This sub-area plan was highlighted by the judges as a model for others looking to implement a customized manufacturing and industrial center. This project implements the city's comprehensive plan and as well as the goals of the Growth Management Act and serves as an excellent example of regional strategies that has real benefits to the communities that it serves. We are encouraged by the high standards set by this project, notably the innovative building design guidelines and worker scale design focus as an investment in the current and future community, residents, and employees that call Kent home. This sub-area plan approach is recognized as a regional model and inspiration for other communities in the Puget Sound region and beyond. Also noteworthy was the thorough and meaningful public outreach efforts associated with the Rally the Valley project, including advisory groups and direct engagement with the employees of a variety of affected companies. To the City of Kent, Mayor Ralph and council members, thank you. Thank you for your commitment to strengthening Washington State communities and improving manufacturing and industrial opportunities at the local level. A special thank you also for the city staff involved in this project. On behalf of Governor Inslee, I thank you for your hard work, innovation, and this amazing model for planning for future growth, development, and redevelopment of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valerie. We are absolutely honored to receive this recognition from the governor and from Commerce. So much work went into this, and we are already starting to see the benefits of all of that work. So again, the recognition is much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we did send over the award and certificates for those that were involved. So thank you so much again for having me.
Very nice. Thank you. Any last words, Michelle?
I'm just thrilled for our team in economic development, and I know that they wish they could be here tonight, and I'm excited to be able to call them my teammates. So thank you. I'm happy to take your questions if you have any.
Thank you. Council, any questions for Michelle? All right, I'm not seeing anything. I just want to say thank you so much to our whole team from Economic and Community Development for all of the things that were highlighted here tonight, the community outreach, the planning, the thought that went into this. I had a chance to discuss all of this planning work with Councilmember Dembowski a couple of weeks ago, and as we were talking through the thought process behind it, I think he was thoroughly impressed with why we're doing things, and it's a game changer in how we plan and in industrial hubs. It's not just about that giant building. There are workers that have to come there every day. There are customers, and I really do believe that Rally the Valley has set a new standard, and I am grateful to the whole team for all the work that they've done. So, thank you. But I think. All right. Next item on the agenda is community events. Council President Troutner, do you have any community events?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to share a few things that are coming up at SSO Showwear Center. We have the Seattle Thunderbirds play the Everett Silvertips on December 17th. That's always a great game. The Tacoma Stars will play the Dallas Sidekicks on December 18th. And then just looking ahead to some other things happening, there's a Gut Check Wrestling Tournament on December 30th to January 1st. I know everyone's always excited when the Harlem Globetrotters come to town. That will be January 27th. And then the Dream Theater will be performing at SSO Showwear Center on February 8th. February 8th. More performances and events will be announced, and if you want information or to get tickets to any of these events, please go to www.ssoshowercenter.com. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just two quick ones. For all of the art lovers out there, Kent Creates has a special December-only contest, and the theme for that is December Delights. So you can get your art submitted, and we will take a look at that. Remember, there are $200 stipends for each of the 5 winners. And go online. The Spotlight Series has a number of shows still left for the coming year. There is going to be mariachi music. There's going to be guitars. You know, the international guitars are coming back. So all sorts of good entertainment. Kent Spotlight Series.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is our public safety report, and joining us tonight is Chief Rafael Padilla.
All right. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. It's my pleasure to bring you the last public safety report for 2021. This will be a lengthier than normal report. There's a lot of information in it, so I will get right to it. We'll start off with some good news here, and I've got the clicker, Kim. Thank you. Want to bring the public, make them aware of our most recent promotion of Officer Peter Stewart to the rank of Sergeant. For those not familiar with our rank process, Sergeant is the first step in promotions. It is our first line supervisor. They are the people that run our day-to-day operations, particularly our uniform operations. Peter was very qualified for this position, went through a rigorous assessment center and promotion process before getting selected for this position. Some of his background includes 14 years of service. His assignments include patrol officer, field training officer, firearms instructor, EVOC instructor, that's our driving instructors, peer fitness instructor. He's also a member of the union contract negotiation team and was also a member of our special operations team, which was our bike unit and homeless engagement team. So pretty good depth and background there. His wealth of assignments have helped him prepare him for this position. Mayor Ralph, you did the honors last week in promoting him and swearing him in officially. And it's my pleasure to announce, and please join me in congratulating Sergeant Peter Stewart. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. She'll let you do it, Cam. All right. Next up, I'd like to bestow what is kind of a rare occurrence with us, because this is a higher level award in that I am presenting the Chief's Award of Valor tonight. So I'd like to call Mr., I practice his name, I'm probably going to mess it up, Mr. Clarence Tiwa Saliri Yaro up front, please. Could you come up, sir? Also, as part of this occurrence, we are bestowing an award of the Citizens Commendation, Chief Citizens Commendation to Mr. Brian Yeater, who could not be here tonight. Mr. Yeater is a hardworking man. He works 2 jobs. And so we are going to find another opportunity to honor him in person with his award. But tonight we honor I'm going to call him Mr. Clarence, because I'll mess that name up again. All right, so what happened? Why is he deserving of this? Back on September 17th, there was an attempted carjacking of 3 community members in Kent at one of our gas stations, one of which was Mr. Clarence. He was there putting gas. A male subject, for whatever reason, jumped in the back of his truck. When Clarence confronted him, the male presented a handgun, pointed it at him. Clarence, we're hiring, by the way, kept his cool, was able to get the guy out of his truck, hoping he'd move along. He did not. He went and found a second victim, which was Mr. Yeater, and tried to take his car at gunpoint as well. Clarence saw this, moved to action, tackled the guy, disarmed him, held him down. Mr. Yeater joined him at that point. They both held him down till our officers responded and took him into custody safely. There was another person that we discovered in the investigation that was also threatened with a gun in an attempted carjacking. So I'm guessing there were some, it didn't say in the report, but I'm guessing there might have been some mental health issues going on as well. And so obviously that is a big deal, to put yourself in harm's way, once being victimized, but then turning around and helping someone who's now being victimized and taking action the way he did. We commend you for that greatly, and for that, we are bestowing the Chief's Award of Valor, and I'll have the presentation here. I think in my 4 years, I've only given this out once prior, so this is a very big deal. So, sir, congratulations for being the type of person that will put yourself on the line so you can protect others. We very much appreciate what you did. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Another good report, portion of the report here. I'd like to call up Mr. Dustin Everett with Signal 88 Security. Mr. Everett is receiving the Chief's Award of Citizen Commendation, and I'll tell you what's going on with that. If you remember, the Citizen's Commendation is given to those that go out of their way, do extraordinary things to assist the community, help law enforcement, things of that nature. Just one step below the Valor, but still a very high honor. So what happened? On September 16, 2021, our officers responded to an assault in progress at the All Vista apartment complex. Officers made contact with the subject, who then attempted to flee on foot. One of our officers, Officer Lentz, pursued the suspect on foot and was trying to get him under control. He tried tasing him. That was ineffective. At this point, at one point, the subject turned around and basically took a fighting stance and was preparing to fight. To his surprise, not only was Officer Lentz behind him, but Security Officer Everett was also behind him. A short struggle ensued, but they were able to get him on the ground, and Security Officer Everett assisted holding his arm down, helping Officer Lentz get him in custody safely without further incident. We later found out through investigation that the subject that was arrested had a felony warrant for his arrest for assault. Go figure. He's committing assault and had a warrant for his arrest. So that might have motivated him to not comply right away. Security Officer Dustin Everett is being commended for his bravery in assisting in getting a violent repeat offender in custody and likely preventing further violence. Please join me in congratulating Dustin in the receipt of this award and thanking him for being the type of community member who steps up to help others. Expiring. Oh, did I say that earlier? I'll keep throwing that out there. All right, excellent. Okay, transitioning to a little bit more serious topic. As promised, I have this year's end of the year crime stats. A couple things I'd ask that we keep in mind when we go through these. First, the numbers that you're going to see in here are somewhat different than the ones that we'll see get reported through WASPIC or the FBI. They use what is called the NIBR system, the National Incident-Based Reporting System. And because the laws are not universal and there's different standards and categories, our numbers don't jive with their numbers exactly. So these are our in-house numbers that we know are most accurate that I'm presenting on tonight. Second, while this report may be very sobering to most, this disturbing trend in terms of high crime rise is universal throughout the region. It's not unique to Kent. Virtually every department in this part of the state is seeing the same rise in lots of places across the country, actually. And then lastly, the numbers in 2021 are as of November of this year. So we don't have the final numbers for December. I think you'll be able to put together the trends despite that with the numbers we have currently, you'll see. And so we'll take it from there. I'll go through each of the categories. So the first category is vehicle prowls. Vehicle prowls are the crimes that basically when someone breaks into your car to steal something. You've seen a lot of these. These include the recent spike in our catalytic converter thefts. And although our Kent officers and detectives had a national case with that resulted in dozens of arrests and upwards of 800 recovered catalytic converters. We put a major operation in place and did a good job on that. We still continue to see somewhere about 35 to 40 catalytic converters taken each month. So that's part of these vehicle prowl numbers that you see there. Number starting in 2018, on the top, you see that's our monthly average per year, and then our totals on the bottom. It's pretty startling, pretty significant trend there. In most of these slides, I draw your attention to the stark departure from 18 and 19, and things change rapidly in 20 and 21. Okay? If we went back a couple of years prior to this, you'd see that 17 was our worst year previous to 20. We had a slight decline in 18 and 19, and then it changed from there. Vehicle thefts is the next category. On our vehicle thefts there, let me see. Total numbers on top, monthly average below. Looking at these numbers, we saw a 15% monthly increase in 2020, followed by a 36% increase in 2021. Since 2019, our average has increased by 57%. We are nearly 300 cars over last year, and we still have a month to go. Robberies. Robberies is a different trend. This is one area where we're actually seeing a modest or slight decrease. Some things to consider with robberies. One, COVID has kept people indoors for months, mainly in 2020, which has limited the number of potential victims. The other thing that we see here is that our robberies have become more violent. So when we get to the shooting categories, what you're going to see is those crimes are categorized as shootings or homicides, and really they started out as armed robberies. So some of those got rolled into higher level crimes, unfortunately. So we saw a 28% decrease compared to 2019, and then a larger decrease, slightly monthly increase of 13%. More cases on average compared to 2020, but we still end the year way below 2019 is what my notes say here. Residential burglaries. This is an area where we continue to see a good trend. Again, we think that people being home, more people telecommuting on a regular basis, the advent of people purchasing more cost-effective video security systems and whatnot have helped to the downward trend. We are down 28% compared to 19 and 13% in addition to that from 20. Let's see here. That's on that. Commercial burglaries. This is one of the categories that's definitely going in the wrong direction. We saw a decreasing prior to 2020 and then a 31% jump. And over 19 going to 20 and then a 21% from 20 to 21. We are looking at a 59% overall increase. Aggravated assaults. These are assaults that are felony level, which means either the injuries were significant or there was some type of dangerous weapon involved that elevated it to, this could include using a gun or a knife or things of that nature. Our aggravated assaults, I've seen significant increases that you see there. Verified shootings, I want to note in this category, this includes shootings where there were rounds fired but nobody hit, and injuries and deaths. So our homicide numbers are in this. I wanted it broken out. Unfortunately, it was combined in these numbers, so our homicides are included in these numbers here. Looking at that, things start to change in 2020, summertime. We had 117 verified shootings in 2020, including several homicides, and then we jumped up to, it says 166 there. As of today, we have an additional 7 shootings since this report was produced, or 8 more shootings rather, and 14 homicides is what our total is for 21 so far. Again, it's just not a Kent problem. We are seeing this in South King. You've all seen the numbers for Seattle, Federal Way, Tacoma, Des Moines, et cetera, et cetera. And then kind of putting it all on one slide there, again, looking at 18 and 19, and then significant departure in most categories, 20 and 21. And so when we look at these numbers and we try to do all we can to address the issues, we got to look at what's changed. And that's some of the things we want to talk about briefly here in this. So when we look at what's changed, we know that COVID has had a major, I've reported out in several reports that COVID's had a major impact on our criminal justice system. Just to bring your memory on the issue, you know, thousands of people released from prison and jails across the state. The inability to put people in jail because of COVID restrictions and other restrictions has been a major issue. King County courts shut down completely for most of 2020. Our jails, or our courts were shut down briefly but reopened. So all those cases were backlogged. We talked about 2-year case restrictions in prosecution because of that, and thousands, tens of thousands of cases not adjudicated. We're talking felony level cases at all different ranges. If we look at this, this really has been a 2-year case study on what crime looks like when we remove accountability and we don't address the issues through the criminal justice process. That's definitely is what's changed. Second to that, there's a statewide and what would argue a national-wide staffing shortage in law enforcement right now. Washington State has seen some higher numbers than most. There's a huge department. Our department is running with 30% less uniform officers than 2 years ago, and we still continue to lose more officers. You've seen the reports on Seattle, WSP, Tacoma, all the Valley cities. I was at the state chiefs and sheriffs conference. I didn't meet a single law enforcement chief or sheriff that wasn't significantly down staffing numbers. Okay? And we've talked about what's driving that. And third, restrictions on our ability to do preventative investigative stops through the new laws. Some of the restrictions on drug possession enforcement are having an impact, and those had been discussed this last year at length. And it's good to just recall that with the reduced enforcement of drug possession laws, the demand has definitely gone up. With the demand going up, that brings on additional trafficking, and it's those trafficking incidences, those transactions, where we see a lot of our violence occur. Okay, and that's very clear. So those are some of the issues. The next question, obviously, is what are we doing about it? Well, we've taken the approach to control everything we can control. And in addition to that, leadership of Mayor Ralph, you've probably seen, she's called for a meeting of the mayors, county executive, county prosecutor, and police chiefs. We meet tomorrow, as a matter of fact. I know some preliminary meetings have already occurred. And so we are going to be looking to get solutions through some of the restrictions we have now on prosecution and incarceration, and other solutions we can find to add to the great processes we have for restorative justice, but balancing out that, bringing back some of the accountability. It's clear that we need to have that. We're also very engaged and have been for well over a year now with any state legislator we can talk to. trying to help enhance some of the police reform laws so we bring back some of the accountability pieces that were not intended to be removed while maintaining some of the safeguards and protections and the reasons for why we had the reform laws in the first place. So that work continues. We are moving heaven and earth to recruit and retain our officers. We are hiring. We have 6 new lateral officers in the pipeline right now. We talked to 4 more who want to look leaving agencies that are nearby. The mayor and city council, thank you very much, approved the most recent contract for the officers, which places them near the top, if not the top paid in the state. We've upscaled some of our hiring incentives, including significant money for those that are in-state laterals who can come and hit the ground running for our department. And we will continue to look for ways to retain and recruit the best and brightest. It is uphill right now for sure, but we are making some headway. And then, last but not least, we are working within the new laws. We've adjusted to some of the changes that needed to be made. We've done some incredible training, and we are finding solutions within the rules and the restrictions now. It just takes a lot longer than what it used to take for us. And I'm going to talk about an incident that relates to that. Bottom line is we aren't going to stop. We're going to use the resources we have, the tools we have at our disposal to keep our community safe, improve livability in our city, and make this a place where businesses thrive. And so that's our ongoing commitment.
Chief, really quick before you go on, can you talk just a little bit about, so while we've got those offers out and in the pipeline, the length of time it takes to get both a lateral and a new hire up to speed and out on the street?
Sure, absolutely. So there's 2 benefits to hiring laterals when we need them right away. The first is we did a cost analysis, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. On an average, we save over $80,000 putting a lateral officer on the street versus an entry level, and that's due to the time needed to get them up to speed to be out for solo patrol. Right now, if I hire in-state lateral, say from a King County agency, we can have that person trained up and operational to be on solo patrol, which is where we need to get them, probably within 3 months. If I have a new entry-level officer, that person comes to pre-academy training, which is a couple months. We wait for a spot somewhere in the ballpark of 2 to 3 months to get a spot in the academy. They go to the academy for 6 months, and they come back to finish out their training for field training for another 4 months. So the difference is 3 to 4 months to a year and 3 months. It's a huge, huge difference. So while we'd love to recruit a lot of entry level and build from the bottom up on our ranks, right now we're in a position where we really have to go after lateral officers to get caught up. So at the current rate, if as we increase our capacity, we are at a deficit of 6 to 7 officers projected right now per year. That's how much more we stand to lose on a projected basis if we don't change this thing around.
Thank you.
All righty. So there's some pictures for you. Many of you may have been following this. I know the council has for sure, but Mr. and Mrs. Public may have been following this through complaints or seeing it. This is the property down on 6th Avenue, adjacent to the Union Pacific Railroad track, so right there next to Meeker. The top is what it looked like a couple weeks ago as we were trying to work to clean it up, and the bottom is what it looks like today. Over the past few months, we have been working to get this area addressed, working with Union Pacific Railroad. It is their property, so by law, we need to work with them cooperatively. We can't just go and remove things on their property. We've been working to address it. It took a long time, but eventually we got them to come in and help clean out the area. That worked for about a day, because then our camp moved right across the street and became on city property right away, which was unfortunate, but we readjusted course and we dealt with that as well. I want to remind everyone that we take a very deliberate process because we are required through, because of case law restrictions and because of state law. We do it the right way, by the book, and we can sense the frustration from our community. I want everyone to know that everyone here, our council, the mayor, want these issues addressed yesterday. It just does not work that way, and we have to do it the right way. So we did it the right way. And after, like I said, months of working, we went out several times offering services, housing, substance recovery assistance, mental health, you name it, multiple times to our community members in these camps. And the truth is, they didn't want it. They refused services multiple times. So at that point, following in our model of compassion and accountability, we did move in and we did forcibly remove. Fortunately, we did not have to make any arrests. We did have to, I'll be honest, we did threaten arrest, and that was what got them to move. So I want to give a huge shout out to our Human Services Unit, Division, and our Public Works crew. The labor that went into cleaning it up was predominantly through our Public Works crew. And as you can imagine, that's not a lot of fun. But they got the job done, and they got it done really quickly once we got the authority to do so. Human Services was right there with us, going out there trying to get people services. So long process. Apologize for how long it takes, but we did do it the right way. And so there's a success here. We will continue to use this model in other places that we've already identified as needing this approach. So more to come on these.
All right, Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, so we went out and Human Services and organizations went out and we offered housing to individuals.
We offered assistance with housing, substance addiction, mental health, whatever they needed.
And yes. No one took
No takers.
So where did they go?
Great question. I don't know where all of them went. I imagine they've reestablished living somewhere else, which is what unfortunately very typically happens.
Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Similar to what Councilmember Michaud, what's going to keep this area clean, them not coming back? Do we have a process for that?
That's another great question. So I think at the heart of your questions is, are we addressing root causes? And the answer is no, right? So going back to the theme of we have turned the page at the direction of the mayor, and we are going to leverage the resources we can control. And I do not have the resources for long-term mental health or control of those things. We lost the ability to compel treatment and services through our courts with the way that the laws have changed. And so we don't have the opportunity to address root causes at the local level. What we can do is continue to work to clean up and offer services, and if people take it, we'll get them there. If they don't, then we do the accountability piece.
And I hear you and understand it, but it's kind of sad because it's a waste of time, really. I mean, it's like whack-a-mole, right? I mean, you can't maintain it, and you can't sustain it either. So,
right. Any other questions on this one?
I think that was the last one for now.
Okay. And another heavily reported in the media area of concern is our Kent, Des Moines, and Pacific Highway area. Those of you that have been following, we've had a rash of shootings, including a couple of homicides. There's been lots of activity, including drug activity, human trafficking, general criminal vagrancy. It has been a mess up there. We've been very challenged with staffing and resources to address it effectively. So, but through the mayor's direction and leadership, we called together a huge summit of law enforcement agencies a couple weeks ago. That included Des Moines, Federal Way, most of the Valley agencies, some King County agencies, Metro, Washington State Patrol, FBI, DEA, ATF, you name it. We put a call to everybody, and in this room, pulled together resources to try and address the issue. We don't have the staffing to sustain this kind of operation alone, so we had to create partnerships, and it was very interesting to hear all the agency leads talk about their inability to provide resources to help us, but we scratched together what we could. And the bottom line is we have a three-pronged approach. The first prong is a high visibility, uniform concentration of officers that are there to prevent and intervene in crime. The second prong is a longer term intelligence gathering for operational intelligence so that we can identify those that are committing the violent crimes, the shootings and the homicides, and go after them and prosecute them. And the third prong, which is probably the most sustainable and most important prong, is that we've been working with the business owners and property owners in that area to help us help them clean up their areas, clear out the debris, move the derelict cars, not allow people to commit crimes or not allow bad tenants to remain conducting business there. And all of that has had an immediate impact. If you go up there now, it is not like one of those bad, apocalyptic movies anymore. We've cleaned out the cars. People have moved along. We're not having the trash as much as we used to, and the crime is gone. Nobody's committing crime up there. We're in the third week of this surge right now. We made several arrests the first week, made a handful of arrests the second week for things like trespassing and things of that nature. DUI emphasis is going on up there. You name it, we've got it going on, and it's been very interesting to hear the people we arrest repeatedly very surprised that the Kent Police Department is making arrests. And they think they will tell my officers, you can't arrest me for this, because that's what they've heard and that's what they believe. They believe that they are comfortable and free to do these lower level crimes without any accountability. They found out that that's not true. We had to make some major adjustments in our jail to make space to be able to temporarily, and I will use the word very temporarily, book and probably release most of our arrests. Nobody's staying in our jail, but at least they're getting processed and charges are being filed, and that seems to be having an impact. Again, the theme is that's the part of the lane that we can control, and so we're leveraging that and we're controlling that. At the same time, our longer term investigations are going very well. We have very strong leads on the suspects who committed the shootings and homicides. I expect our detectives are going to do what they always do, and we will have those cases solved, and we will have those people arrested. And then, like I said, it's already going very well with the property owners. They are very willing to do what they can to get the area cleaned up, and they are partnering with us currently, so that's going well as well. So, bit of good news on that. We are going to work this problem as long as we can. To your point, Councilmember Boyce, not sustainable with the resources we have, but we will move this, and I do want the public to know we're going to move this show to other parts of the city, because we have other parts of the city that are going to need this approach. I think over time what you're going to see is that if you make a way for my officers to do their job the right way, right, with keeping in mind all the things that we should do in terms of doing the job the right way, they will do their job and they will do it effectively. Okay. And I didn't put it on here, Mayor, but I do want to put a plug in for Shop with the Cop. We had that, I believe it was December 3rd. It was another great event. We raised a lot of money. We served, was it 33 kids
37.
total? 37 kids. They got to partner with our officers, go for a day of holiday shopping, and just really make a great time for them. For many of these kids, they will not get any type of holiday this season without some support from the community, including Shop with the Cop. So, as always, a great event. I have video on that. The annual video is posted on our social media, so please go on there and check it out. I have not watched it yet, but I'm eagerly going to watch it when I get an opportunity. So with that, Madam Mayor, that completes my report, and I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you, Chief. Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Get back to the Kent Des Moines area. So you kind of somewhat have that under control. So if you go to another area, the agency that you're working with today, are you guys working as a partners, and you go from spot to spot? How did that work, sir?
I'm going to keep calling in favors as long as I can, Councilmember Boyce. But I can't speak. Obviously, I can't. I talked to Captain Meade at WSP. He's down 42 troopers in the Seattle detachment. 42. That's a lot of bodies. So, yeah, we'll do what we can. But Kent's going to continue to do this.
Okay. Councilmember Fincher.
Hi, Chief. You mentioned when we were looking at the numbers that I think we were looking at the burglaries. A number may start out there, but then there may be a shot or some sort of force. So that moves it. Is it reported in both categories, or does it move up to just the higher category?
That's a great question. We were talking about robberies, and one of my thoughts on why we're seeing the numbers just a little bit lower in robberies is that as we've seen the robberies become more violent, they become shootings or homicides. And the way that the system is set up for reporting, they report the highest crime. And so obviously an attempted homicide or homicide is higher than robbery. And so I think if we were able to go, and we don't have the analytics for this, but if we went case by case, we'd see that a lot of our shootings were actually robberies.
Councilmember Larmer.
Thank you. Thank you for the report, Chief. I'm curious about in the West Hill in the cleanup efforts. You talked about what I guess, would generally be considered blight, like some of the cars and the trash and stuff, and that being cleaned up by the business owners when you were doing this emphasis. I'm curious, why does it have to get to the point of this level of crime and an emphasis patrol for these business owners to clean this up? I mean, did they do it of their own fruition, or did we have to really enforce that they need to clean up these areas?
I think it was a combination of things. So this is very confusing to me, but there are business owners that can afford to have properties and take a loss on them and sit on them for years and years. And this is where we see some of our problems. If you look at the Burger King that's up at that La Plaza, that's been vacant 3-4 years now. There's someone who owns that who apparently doesn't need the revenue and sits on it. So I think the media and the attention to the area, there was a significant outcry from the community that was pretty vocal. And we were having, to be honest, major meetings with their tenants. In this very room, Mayor Ralph called a meeting of the businesses. There were probably 50 business owners here, a lot of them from the West Hill, and they were tenants of the property owners. And so we did have a management group from one of the property owners come up. And I think collectively there was just enough attention and pressure to where the business property owner said, we want to do something. Now, we didn't advertise this, but because of how prevalent the violence was up there, our prosecutor's office was ready to go criminal proceedings on these criminal nuisance properties pretty quickly. When we start seeing people, in hospitals, that pushes us to a more expedited process. We had been working code enforcement up there, but as you know, that system takes forever. A lot of times when they feel like they're about to be criminally prosecuted, that seems to turn them quicker to doing something. So I don't know specifically, but that's all that happened, and that would be where I would look to see what changed.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, did I miss the homicide numbers?
Yes. I kind of spoke through it quickly because I knew that was going to come up. I wanted those separated in the report. Our analysts combined them in the shootings, but last year, going off of, I know we had 14 homicides this year.
So how does that compare to previous years?
So last year was also high. I want to say 11, going off the top of my head, there was 11. A couple of those cases, however, from last year are going to be ruled self-defense, so they won't be charged, so there's that. Prior to that, our average was less than 6 a year, more like 4. And if you want, I can come back with specific homicide numbers at a later report. I can do that.
Other questions for the chief? All right. I would like to say thank you very much for how quickly you mobilized, put the team together, working with the surrounding agencies, and knowing how limited our resources are to make that decision to focus on that area. I know we received an email today from the owner of the pet store up in Midway saying definite noticeable difference. I was up there last week, and it really is night and day. So there is something to this idea that a presence and some accountability does matter. The unfortunate thing is, like you said, it's not sustainable, and we've got other areas in the city. At that same meeting, we were joined by many of our downtown business owners, and they're feeling a lot of the same things. So knowing we've got work to do, but the creativity and how you're getting things done, given all of the restraints and restrictions that are there, is impressive. So thank you for that. Looks like Councilmember Thomas has a question. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about my throat, but anyway. So Chief, there's a couple of problems that I'm having here. One is that we tend to try to get the best of the best out of the academy and lateral. And it seems like there are a lot of officers leaving other departments. What makes Kent, what kind of incentives do we have to bring the best of the best to Kent, for example?
Well, right now, we are one of the highest paid, thanks to this newest contract. So that we put money up there front to show how much, how
Okay.
important it is. That's one. We have the hiring incentive, but this is anecdotal. What I hear when I interview them, because I ask the question, why are you leaving your department, right? The question is, why? What are you hiding from, or what are you leaving behind? And we do an extensive background. I've chronicled that in years past. So we make sure we vet people very well. But what I hear from these laterals, particularly the ones that work for nearby jurisdictions, is that leadership, particularly leadership of the department, the leadership of the city and the council, matter very much to them. And what they are looking for is a jurisdiction they can work for where they feel as though they're going to be supported in doing their jobs. And that is, you can feel free to, I'll give you access to contacts. You can feel free to ask them, but that is a perpetual comment that I get as to why they're looking for that support. It's important to them.
Another question, if I may?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Chief, one of the things that you were talking about, the homeless there on 6th Avenue, were just moving across the street, and then, of course, you got them out of there. So there's this constant movement of these homeless people from almost from city to city. And what we're seeing over the last few years, tremendous amount of people getting kicked out of Seattle, and they head towards Kent in the south. Or they get kicked out of Tacoma, and they're heading north to Kent. So we're kind of in a really a weird situation here. And it's just a constant movement, a wave of these people from one area to another. What can we do about that?
That's the $1 million question there, Council Member. We have talked about this before, and I think one of the things that makes our city great is that we do have that compassion, and we do put a lot into resources and trying to help people and do it the right way. That also comes with the additional burden of sometimes having to go with the accountability when that doesn't work. So,
and it all costs money too.
It's very expensive.
All right. Any other questions for the chief? Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, we will move on to item number 5 on our agenda, which is reports. Opportunity for everyone sitting up here at on the dais to tell a little bit about the work that they're doing outside of the regular council and committee meetings, making sure that Kent is being represented at those regional and state level conversations. Feels like it's been a long time since our last council meeting, being that this is the second Tuesday and we had a 5th week there in November. So I'm going to try and pare down this list of things that have occurred in the last couple of weeks. A few of them the chief already mentioned. We had 2 business town halls over the last several weeks. One up on the West Hill, convened by the West Hill merchants, with crime concerns up there on the West Hill on the southern end of Pacific Highway, and then the other one with downtown business owners as well as some of our merchants from the West Hill. Really had a lot of conversation on the crime activity that they're seeing, but also providing them with some solutions on things like our trespass program. We had some conversations about security options in, especially in the downtown core, some of the ways that they can come together through Business Watch and those kinds of things, all very well attended meetings. We had a very fun thing, our Winterfest celebration here about a week ago in Town Square Plaza, the lighting of the tree. Want to thank our Kent Parks, along with the Kent Lions, Kent Downtown Partnership, and Kent Station, combined efforts this year to make a month of celebration for the winter holidays. And we had a great parade. Thank you to the council members that came out for that parade in the pouring down rain. It was a lot of fun, though. We're able to light that tree in the park and kick off December in a great way. On the business side of things, I serve on several regional committees, regional Puget Sound Regional Council Executive Board, we had some presentations by our representatives Rick Larson and Marilyn Strickland talking about their work on some of the infrastructure packages that are coming from the federal government and how those will impact the Pacific Northwest. Congresswoman Strickland talked specifically about the bringing access of high-speed internet. I know that that's something that's very important to many of our council members, and the hopes are through some of this funding in the infrastructure package that we will be able to improve access when it comes to high-speed internet. In our current situation with COVID and going forward, we know that that digital access is more important than ever. It's no longer a luxury and something reserved just for playing video games, which, that used to be the biggest reason in my house to have faster internet. Now it's just about doing your schoolwork and being able to earn a living. So I'm grateful for the work that's being done on our behalf at the federal level. Finally, the chief talked about Shop with a Cop. Very, very proud of that work. This was our 8th year, 37 kids. I will tell you, I put out the request to our community every year to raise money, and every single year our community comes together, steps up, and makes sure that we've got a great group of kids. Good partnership with Kent Youth and Family Services to take the kids shopping. Our officers, a lot of them come off of graveyard shift and show up. It's all done on a volunteer basis, or they come in early for their shift. This year we had so many smiling faces. My favorite was a little girl who had been to the store prior. She did some pre-shopping and knew exactly what she was looking for, and it was a beautiful pink bicycle. The officer, she did not, with the allotted money, have enough for a helmet, but he said, we're not going to let her leave. So he picked out a lovely unicorn helmet, and we do have a great picture on our Facebook page of him modeling both the bicycle and the beautiful pink unicorn helmet. So I suggest you check it out. It's a lot of fun. Very grateful to our community for being a part of that, and to our officers for making sure that Christmas is special for so many kids. All right, with that, I'm going to look to my right to Derek Matheson.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor, and good evening, Council. I thought I'd start out with population. So every year, the Washington State Office of Financial Management updates population estimates for Washington cities. Of course, last year, the federal government did the decennial census, and so the state applied an update to that number, and our official population stands at 137,700 residents. So that is used for the purpose of distributing state shared revenue, as well as used by the city in our official communications. Also just wanted to mention a couple of logistics things. Later on tonight, the council will elect a city council president for 2022 and 23. That person will take office on January 1st and announce appointments to council committees and other groups at the January 4th council meeting. Also on January 4th, the re-elected mayor and council members will take their oaths of office. There's a lot more information in my written report, which is in your packet. We do have an executive session this evening. The topic is collective bargaining. Expected time is 15 minutes. There will be no action when we reconvene in open session. And other than that, just want to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
All right. Thank you, Derek. Hard to believe that our population is nearly 138,000. This is going to date me, not as much as Councilmember Thomas, but I think when I graduated from Kent Meridian, we had about 30,000 people in Kent. So significant growth. We are a big city, and I know it's a surprise to a lot of people when we talk about our population, but growing and lots of good things going on. So, all right, Council President Troutner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had workshop earlier this evening, and one of the presentations that I really look forward to is the quarterly sound transit update and the Federal Way leak extension and downtown garage information. As many of you know, we are building the Kent Des Moines light link extension that will be opening in 2024. Also, the Star Lake Station. And it's a really great presentation, and one of the things that I really enjoy about it is the pictures. Lots of great aerial pictures by our multimedia team. So I suggest that if you're interested in learning more about the progress on that project, please do check out the workshop, either online or catch it on one of our social media platforms. I also sit on the Regional Transit Committee, and I am vice chair of the SCA caucus for the RTC committee. And as I've mentioned previously in reports, we have spent probably the last year and a half working on updating Metro's policies. That includes updating the strategic plan for public transportation. We improved updates on the service guidelines and also Metro Connects. We brought that before the RTC on November 17th. Then that went on to King County's Council's Mobility and Environment Committee. That passed on November 30th, and I'm super happy to report that on December 7th, it went before the King County Council and it was voted on unanimously. So something that was a huge collaboration between King County Council members, the Sound Cities Association, RTC committee members from cities all across South King County, and also the Mobility and Environment Committee came together to work on these documents, and it's something that we're really proud of and that was voted on again unanimously by King County. So those will actually be out once Dow Constantine signs those. They'll be available for anyone to check out and see what those updates are. And with that, I will look to my left and start with Councilmember Show on report she's got to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I serve on Kent's Human Services Commission, and last month we had Sarah Peterson from the Washington State Resettlement Services come and talk to us about Afghan resettlement. And they have had more refugee families in the past 6 weeks than in the past 6 months. And they are very overwhelmed, and they're having a difficult time finding housing for refugees in Kent just because our housing stock is so low, and but people want to live here, so that's one of their challenges. And then another topic that we talked about was the youth mental health funding that council provided $200,000. A lot of the programs that were funded were non-traditional type things. It was given to established organizations, but some of the things that are of note is Consejo. They focused on kids without health insurance because they're undocumented. And then World Relief had music and art therapy. And then there was a youth leadership group that trained students in first aid for high schoolers. And then lastly, at that meeting, we are talking about how we can advance the Commission's anti-biased grant-making process. So we talked about some ways that we could do that. And then I also serve on King County's Regional Water Quality Committee, and this was my last meeting with the committee. We talked about how the Clean Water Plan is actually going to be put on hold for a few months to develop a strategy to move forward. There are just a lot of unanswered questions about the process, about the input from legislators or lack thereof, and how this is going to be implemented. So they have just put a pause on that to kind of rethink things. And then we got an update on the Joint Ship Canal Water Quality Project. And that concludes my report.
I think maybe you're not going to miss regional water quality, but they're going to miss you.
That is probably true.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaur.
Thank you. I serve on Growth Management Planning Council, and we had our meeting a couple weeks ago. And in Growth Management Planning Council, we voted on designating countywide centers, and Kenyon Ridge was one of the centers that we voted on in Kent. And we also had presentations on affordable housing committee, and there was a housing dashboard link that was shared where you can check out affordable housing units available in different regions in the county. I want to give special shout out to Kaylin and Haley for the amazing work they do on interjurisdictional team with the GMPC and all the feedback they provide on how any changes coming through are impacting Kent. And I also want to point out GMPC worked on urban growth capacity report and countywide planning policies, and King County Council this afternoon voted unanimously to adopt 2021 urban growth capacity report and 2021 countywide planning policies. I also sit on King County City's Climate Collaboration Outreach Committee, and we'll be meeting on Friday. And the other committees have not met yet, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Larmer.
Thank you, Council President. I sit on the King County Aging and Disabilities Advisory Council, and this is a regional committee where usually I find I have something pretty interesting or applicable to Kent to bring back. Unfortunately, as some of the regional meetings go, sometimes your guest speakers are specific to the City of Seattle. So we had the City of Seattle planners come talk about their comprehensive plan. So there wasn't a whole lot of material I can bring back that was applicable to us. However, one little nugget I did find interesting is that in their comprehensive plan, they are anticipating the need for 100,000 housing units and 170,000 jobs in the Seattle city limits by 2035. So that's just, obviously going to be reflected in growth regionally. So that's really all I had for that report.
Thank you. Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just curious, Derek, with the 137,000, they can't move up with the top 6 or 5, or are we still in the same spot?
I knew somebody would ask that, so I scanned the list a few moments ago. It's still Seattle, Spokane, Tacoma, Vancouver, Bellevue, Kent.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And Councilman Michaud, we all had an opportunity to sit on the Regional Water Quality Committee, so we feel your pain, but it's all good. Hey, for me, myself, I sit on the Sound City Association as the vice chair. What we were able to accomplish in our December 8th meeting, we did our board and committee meetings, so you guys should know what committees you are going to be sitting on. I think Kent will be well represented again going into 2022. We also had a roundtable where all cities kind of talk about some of the issues going on in their city. A lot of commonality amongst the city, especially around crime. That seemed to come up a lot in the cities, the 38 cities that went around the roundtable. We say goodbye to quite a few council members who have been on the PIT committee for quite some time. Some didn't get reelected. Some decided not to be run again. So we say goodbye to them. We also looked at the state legislator, kind of talked about what's going on and the thing that SCA will be taken forward. And then last but not least, I was amongst my peers asked to be the chair of the PIT, and also get an opportunity to sit on the SCA board, so I'm looking forward to that. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and congratulations. Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Madam President. I serve on the Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority along with Councilmember Boyce and Council President Troutner. We haven't been really too busy, although there were several fires that were put out this month. Our regular meeting was scheduled for tomorrow evening at 5:30. That has been canceled, and we will be meeting on January 5th via Zoom. If you'd like to come in and be a part of that, you can dial up 253-856-4300. Talk to Jessica is your best bet, and she'll give you the way to get into the Zoom meeting on that date. Thank you very much. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Arts Commission, as I mentioned, we have the Kent's Create December Delight Set contest is going on through the end of the month. We also, at our meeting, had a wonderful presentation from an artist. We have a Park Chestnut Ridge that is going to be getting a new art installation, and you'll be able to sit on it, lay on it, but even though it wasn't necessarily designed for that, the design lends itself to kids climbing on it. So there was a safety design pointed out involving the surrounding area, so that right now it's cement, but to make sure in case someone falls that they're still going to be safe. That design still needs to go to Parks Department, so we're sure that they're going to handle that for us. So all will be good there. we also had the election of officers, or they had the election of officers that night also. The Mental Illness and Drug Dependency Advisory Committee had a presentation on the Workplace Initiative for Domestic Violence and Intimate Partner Violence, remembering that domestic violence is not just a problem with adults, it's also a problem in our schools with our students between boyfriends and girlfriends and other relationships. So with this particular approach they take a trauma-informed approach, and they offer one-time limited services. And what they do is focus on safety, they focus on systems coordination to make sure that the people who they are dealing with are going to be safe, and everything is going to be involved. So not one-stop shopping. So sometimes the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. They may not know that there's a protection order that was issued over here when somebody is doing something over here. So every group or agency works together in helping them. Kind of like I said, one-stop shopping. REWA, who we have out here off of 4th, REWA is one of the agencies who does a lot of work with them. And the good thing about that is REWA, in that organization, they speak over 50 languages and dialects. And we found out that 1 in 5 people in King County is born outside of the country, and a lot of them may not be able to speak English or comfortable in English. So having those other languages available is very important. One thing that they said that I really liked was to look at it as something someone is experiencing instead of what is wrong with the person. So anyway, that was a really good program that we heard about. And then with King Conservation District, KCD, which I chair, we had our meeting today, and glad to say we have a new financial system in place. So we have new accounting people within the agency and a new system that will also easily report into the state system. It's much like the program that they're using down in Pierce County. So we have brought that to King County, and we'll hope to make it better here. That is it.
Thank you, Councilmember Fincher. Madam Mayor, that ends our reports.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on in our agenda, item number 6 is a public hearing. We do not have one this evening. Item number 7 is public comment. The public comment period is the opportunity to speak to the council and mayor on issues that relate to the business of the city of Kent or to agenda items council will consider at this meeting. Comments that do not relate to the business of the city are not permitted, and additionally, the state of Washington prohibits people from using the public comment period to support or oppose ballot measures or candidates for office. Kim will go ahead and call our speakers up. I do ask that you state your name and city of residence for the record. We have a three-minute time limit, and there will be a timer that goes up on the screen. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kim.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have one person signed up to provide public comment tonight, and that is Sally McDonough, and she'll speak on the Hughes property in Panther Lake Park.
Thank you.
Evening.
For what used to be if I wanted to show pictures, but I guess that isn't available anymore. Maybe?
Don't have that technology here anymore.
All right. I'll walk you through some things. Sally McDonough, and I live in Kent, and I've had a wonderful, positive interactions with many of the departments, especially the Parks Department and Public Works. And I'm here tonight. I came to kind of promote 2 parks. So that's my agenda. I did hand out a little sheet with a couple of my research items. And so the Hughes property is the property that will be developed very shortly. It received the $2 million grant to put a park for the underserved people of the Panther Lake Annex. And so I'm actually out on that property frequently. I have a really old 32-year-old horse that I wander around on it. And we were out there a week or so ago, and there were a lot of people taking pictures of us. And it was a little interesting. So I asked them what they were doing and found out that the property is slated for development. Wasn't really aware of that. And so I started to research that project, and I saw kind of some challenges. And then as I continued researching, I really realized that I'd like to also promote moving forward on getting a park at Panther Lake. And I can give you, well, the reasoning is on the handout, but I also took some pictures, and I don't know if I'm allowed to pass them around or not, but I started out, I drove over to how you would enter the park, the Hughes property, which will be the one that's developed, and it sits at the southeast corner of 132nd and 216th, and it's on a very small road, very hilly road, and part of the challenge will be that there's already a real water problem, and I don't know if you can see that at the bottom of the property, which would be the eastern part, with very little rain, it turns into pretty much a duck pond. So one of the things that I'm hoping that happens when this property is developed is that that the water can be addressed at the source, which is the hill that comes down from 216th and just lands right on the road where the Sioux Creek Trail overlaps it. People can't even walk over it a lot of times. So that was part of the concern. And then the other concern is that I really believe that there will need to be a traffic light, because the 132nd turning onto 216th, you go down a steep hill, which means when you're coming back out, you're hanging on a steep hill, and the people are coming down from the elementary school. There's a hill that comes down, and they're not going 35. It's kind of a throughway. They're going, 45 at least. So it's a very dangerous corner, and I just thought, hopefully there's going to be some transportation funds available that won't cut into the grant on that park, because, when I called the transportation person that we've had, we've met before, I'll leave it at that, and, he was pretty open about how much money it costs to really put in a proper place for a proper traffic light and a turn lane. But the other part of that is that the road will need to be really brought up to specs for a park, and I was just ballparking what the price would be on that, and especially if you add in, hopefully we can take care of some of the drainage that's going down into Sioux Creek, which is a very fragile environment that I am really concerned about protecting. And so then I actually drove over to Panther Lake. And
Sally, if I could get you to wrap up your comments.
Done. Okay.
Sorry.
And I'm gonna pass these around. The density around Panther Lake is just incredible, and I really hope. I truly feel those are the residents that we need to put a park in for. Those are the residents that are the underserved, and I'll hand out. These are the density and the overhead shots. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And just for reference, we have already got set in motion. Our Parks Committee will be getting a presentation on some of that grant funding that we got from the legislature and why it's committed to the Hughes property, some of the other work that we're doing as far as outreach and planning in that Panther Lake neighborhood. It is absolutely, when it comes to parks, our most underserved neighborhood, given it was annexed from King County, and not sure where their parks money went, but it was not into that neighborhood. So we're looking to rectify that situation. So stay tuned to our Parks Committee agenda. Definitely more coming, and that's exactly the kind of input we're looking for as we go through the planning process on that Hughes property.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Kim, anybody else signed up?
I do not have any other speakers.
All right. Thank you. Okay, item number 8 on our agenda is the consent calendar. This is a compilation of work that the council has done at the committee level over the last several weeks. Tonight on our agenda, we have items A through S. Madam President, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve consent calendar items A through S.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, moving into other business, we've got 4 items this evening. We're going to start out with the resolution to support Proposition 1 for the Kent School District number 415, replacement of an expiring educational programs and operations levy. We've got some specific rules around support of resolutions, so I'm going to go ahead and read those. The We'll now address the resolution, replacement of the expiring education programs, which will appear on the February 8th, 2022 ballot, wherein voters will be asked to approve a property tax levy to provide for educational programs and operational expenses within the Kent School District. State law, RCW 42.17A.555, requires that members of a legislative body or members of the public be afforded an approximate equal opportunity for the expression of supporting and opposing viewpoints. So if we've got speakers totaling 5 minutes in support of, then we allow speakers in opposition that same amount of time. So after the council discusses the matter, we'll provide time for the presentation of the opposing view. If you participate in speaking to present the opposing view, please sign up at the clerk with Kim right here at the front table, and I will request Kim note the amount of time council spends discussing this item. With that, I'm going to ask Mike Heinisch to come up and speak to this item. I was a little bit nostalgic thinking about your annual trip to this council, providing us updates on all the things going on at KYFS. So I think it's rather appropriate that you are here this year, also working for our kids.
Well, thank you, Mayor and council members. It's nice to be back. My name is Mike Heinisch. I'm here tonight as the co-chair of the levy renewal that you just titled for us. Thank you very much. I am a resident of Burien. I consider myself a dual resident of Kent and Burien, so I hope that's true to this day. So I'm delighted to have the opportunity to co-chair this effort on behalf of the community of Kent. I'll have a distinguished co-chair who's also here tonight, Seth Wander. I'm sitting here on my right as a mother and a parent of a child in the school district and soon to be kids in the school district. She's gracefully stepped up with all the other things she's doing and you're all doing to co-chair the effort with you, well, with myself, and a whole group of community people that you all are very familiar with. As you said, the levy is a renewal levy. It's a straight renewal levy. It's 2 years operating and educational programs. It funds 16% of the school district's operating funds, 150 teachers that the state doesn't pay for, 17 school nurses, which can be so much what we talked about tonight when we talk about mental health and other things going on that the state doesn't fund. The state only funds 3 nurses in schools. It funds virtually all of the arts and cultural activities in the school district and a lot of the sports programs in the school district, as well as security needs of the district. So it's a huge part of what the district provides for our kids here in Kent. You know, when I think about it, we all know that the paramount duty of the state is the education of our kids. And I would subscribe that an equally important, if not paramount duty of every local community is to support the education of their children. The 26,000 so kids that we have in the Kent School District are going to grow up here in Kent. We want them to contribute. They're going to contribute the way the chief described contributions or the way you provide contributions. And all of us hopefully in this room do tonight. That's what happens when we have good education. So I believe as well, it's not a paramount duty, it is a critical duty. The community step up and support their local educational efforts. Another thing I would say is the district has come a long way in a couple of years. It has stable finances. It has an excellent bond rating now. It has stabilizing leadership. It has new school board members that will bring new energy and ideas. One of them who sat here himself for a number of years. So I think the district is in good hands with challenges like you have, like we all have. But really we'll move forward with the support of the community of Kent. So I ask you to support the renewal of the levy, to give an endorsement as the city of Kent. You have many important partners, economic development and other partners, law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. A really important partner and a future that represents Kent is the Kent School District. So please support your resolution.
Mike, thank you for taking the time to come tonight and sit all the way through the meeting to the very end item, and for being a dual citizen of Burien and Kent. I think that's a title that you will never, ever lose. Council, is there any conversation or questions before we open it up to anyone to make statements in the audience? All right, I am not seeing any hands raised. Kim, do we have anyone signed up to speak in opposition?
We do not.
All right, that makes the rest of this much simpler. We don't have to worry about time or making sure that everyone is getting their fair say. And thank you also to Councilmember Core for working on this for our kids. All right, with that, a motion would be in order for a resolution to support Proposition 1, Kent School District 415, replacement of expiring educational programs and operations levy.
Madam Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 2032, which expresses the council's support for Kent School District Proposition 1, which will appear on the February 8, 2022 ballot, wherein voters will be asked to approve a property tax levy to provide for educational programs and operational expenses within the Kent School District.
Second.
Okay. I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Marley. Councilmember Larmer, sorry.
Larmer, yep.
All right, there you go. Make sure that you vote in the special election. Those ballots will be showing up early in 2022, so. Okay, the next item under other business is our 2021 Annual Docket, and joining us is Kayleen Nobis from our Economic and Community Development Department. Thank you also for being patient all the way through the meeting.
My pleasure. Good evening, Madam Mayor and esteemed council. My item is not too exciting for you this evening, but every year we come to you with their annual docket process. As Kent City Code requires, we accept requests from the public once per year by September 1st every year to be considered on the next year's annual work plan. Essentially, the docket allows members of the public to request comprehensive land use amendments, zoning amendments, or map amendments. We brought the docket to the November 9th ECDC and asked that the entire docket be moved to other business so that we could keep our requirements for Kent City Code's Kent City Code, but so that staff could have additional time to formulate their recommendation. At this time, we actually only have one request from the public and a handful of suggestions from city staff on zoning and comprehensive plan amendments. The docket is not meant to be an exhaustive list of all staff efforts. For example, in the upcoming years, a large portion of our time will be dedicated to the comprehensive plan and a sub-area plan for the Canyon Ridge Center, as Councilmember Core mentioned earlier, and additional efforts as guided by Council's priorities. So I'll just explain at a high level the one public request and some of the other things we have on the docket. We have a couple items that are carryovers of just work items we've been working on for past years, in addition to a yearly housekeeping amendment. Many code changes and issues were identified during the adoption of the Kent Housing Options Plan, some of which can be addressed through that housekeeping amendment, and others that might take more extensive efforts, such as like a middle housing amendment and transit-oriented development. Things we're waiting to hear on legislative session on to see how we're going to move forward. So those are all kind of under the catch-all item on that last House bill item on there, because we don't exactly know what those are going to look like yet. And then the only public request is the delay request. The delay request is for 2 parcels north of the Sonic development. They request us to review a comprehensive plan amendment designation from single family to mixed use. We are suggesting that we move forward with reviewing this request in early 2022 with a recommendation to council in the second quarter of 2022. So what you would be adopting tonight or approving tonight is just for staff to work on that request. So with that, I will ask if you have any questions.
All right, council, any questions? All right, I am seeing none. With that, a motion would be in order to approve the 2021 annual docket.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2021 annual document.
Second.
Good.
Second.
All right,
Sorry.
we've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next two items under other business are in regards to council president. Our council elects a president that serves a 2-year term. So this is that time of the year where the council is going to look to elect a new council president. The first item is a motion to suspend the rules. Council President Troutner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to suspend Section 2.1 of the council bylaws, rules, and procedures in order to hold an election for the position of council president during this council meeting on December 14th, 2021. In order for the new council president to assume the office for a term starting January 1st, 2022, with the term of presidency ending when a different council president is elected in accordance with Section 2.1 of the rules.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item D under other business is the election of the council president. Council President Troutner.
Madam Mayor, I move to elect Councilmember Boyce to the position of council president for a term starting on January 1st, 2022 and ending when a different council president is elected in accordance with Section 2.1 of the council bylaws, rules, and procedures.
Second.
And I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Well, let me think about it.
Motion carries with an I'm going to think about it appended to that 7-0. I will save my comments of gratitude and congratulations until our January meeting when we will have the official passing of the gavel. But thank you and congratulations. We'll talk about this more at the January meeting. All right, with that, we are on to item number 10, which is bids. We do not have any this evening. Item number 11 is executive session, and council will be going into executive session to discuss collective bargaining. This is allowed per RCW 4230-140, subsection 4A. About 15 minutes, and will there be action at the end of?
No action this evening.
All right, so if I could ask everyone not involved in this executive session to please clear the council chambers. We will resume the council meeting in about 15 minutes and there will be no action at that point.